Hey everyone, we are here at the Harrisonburg Rockingham Chamber of Commerce with our guest Rusty Noesner and Scott Price of War Paints. So first of all, a big thank you to the Chamber, and we're both Chamber members.
That's
right? Development
Absolutely.
and Consulting and War Paints. And we want to thank the Chamber for the exceptional service that they give to their members and this great meeting space that we're taping in. So today, as we are just kind of having a conversation with War Paints, we're really excited to have you guys coming to Live to Lead Harrisonburg. So for the 200 business leaders in the community in the Shenandoah Valley that will be coming together on October 18th at Live to Lead Harrisonburg, be sure that when you're in the room that you meet these guys and learn a little bit more about them. I'm going to pose a few questions here to help you out, but make sure that you find their table at Live to Lead. And as we kind of wrap this up, we'll give you some more information if you're not in the room that you can connect with these folks. So to start us off, whoever wants to jump in here, tell us a little bit more about War Paints.
Well, certainly. And first, Cindy, I'd like to thank you all again for having us. Live to Lead. We're honored to be a part and honored to share our experiences in our nonprofit with everybody and hear other people's stories. War Paints essentially started in 2014 when I got out of the military. I was with the U.S. Navy SEALs teams. Before that, I had been in two blast injuries in Afghanistan in 2011, one of which rendered me unconscious, and the other was actually a helicopter fall. From that, I received a traumatic brain injury and had to go to the Walter Reed Memorial Hospital, in which I kind of went into the art therapy program, which served extraordinarily well for me to reconnect neural pathways in my brain and start to understand the restorative power of art, and it really opened me up to it. Not too long after, we developed a website, and Scott and I met, and we've been working pretty hard on it since then.
Wow, I'm learning here too. I didn't know quite all of that backstory. That's really exciting. So Scott, anything you want to add to that and your piece that you play there, your role with War Paints?
Sure. No, I got involved just a few years ago after knowing him for several years now. And he's like, hey, could you help me come just sort of move this thing along? And I absolutely would. But the reason I found him in the first place was because, like Rusty, after I had some injuries, I was an infantryman for 24 years, had just nothing combat related, even though I did serve in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. Things just started breaking down on my body, and I had a major back injury. I had to get surgery at Walter Reed, and the surgery didn't go so well, and I had an infection set in that destroyed my body. So I basically was discharged. They said, hey, thanks very much, appreciate it, but you're never gonna walk normally again. That's it. And so I had that sort of dark night of the soul moment. So like Rusty, I too turned to the arts, mine being poetry is what sort of I was drawn to. And I started doing more and more of these baby steps. And I was approached by Martha Woodruff from the formerly WMRA to do an interview about my military experience and this poetry, because there seems to be this perception that these are mutually exclusive things, that the arts are separate from military service, when we all know that that is not the case at all. There's a long history of art and martial service going together. Anyway, I was not excited to do that interview, but I had seen that he had just done one with her, and I reached out to him and just said, hey, you putting yourself out there gives me the courage to put myself out there too. And so I think that's kind of what War Paints is really doing for others. It's like, hey, it's okay to be an artist. Go out and pursue it. A lot of other people are doing it. Come join us. It's really a lot of fun.
And not only is it fun, it allows service members to re-identify with themselves and rediscover themselves after service. In the military, we have a particular mindset, and that's a combat-oriented mindset. After that, we have some sort of disorientation when we wander back into society. So art is a very, very basic form in which we can indulge in order to rediscover and reacclimate with ourselves. And if I can do a painting or photography or can write poetry, well, now maybe I can go back to school to learn something. I can practice business. I can practice any skill sets. But this is the first step in saying I can rediscover and reinvent myself.
I think all of us are born with the urge to create, and somewhere along the line, it gets weeded out of us. And so this is really just about opening ourselves back up to that innate instinct to create. We like it. It's fun. Yeah.
Oh, that is powerful. So before we go any further, and we'll talk a little bit about the project itself, you guys can share with me about that. Did everyone hear Rusty mention very briefly that he is a Navy SEAL? So anything you want to add about that, Rusty? And Scott, we'd love to hear a little bit more about.
No, SEALs get all the glory.
Yeah.
They write all the books.
Yeah.
They do the movies.
Well, that's certainly true. No, it was, transitioning as a SEAL presented its own set of interesting challenges. I had a brotherhood that was very confused as to what I was doing now, going from this very combat-oriented, very 100-mile-per-hour mindset back into now I'm an artist. So a lot of my buddies were like, when they see me getting out, like, what are you doing now? I'm like, well, I'm actually, practicing art. And so it took them a while to understand what was happening. And then, as we kind of described before, it actually marries hand in hand. As Scott was saying, it actually marries hand in hand more than we think it do. And it's these warrior philosophies that are quite, frankly, ancient. And it's just now that Americans, as these young warrior cultures, are discovering when you're not at war, you need to come back and to have these restorative, powers of the arts and to restore your humanity.
Yes, that is beautiful, and we are excited to do anything we can to help these guys get their story out. Now, a little more about your background with your military experience, Scott, if you're willing to share.
Well, I enlisted when I was 17, and thought I would be I enlisted in the Guard for a couple years while I was still in high school, thinking, hey, I get a couple years experience and just do that, maybe keep doing it through college. And what I found was I found a home in the Guard. I really liked it, so I just stayed there. So I rose up to the rank of sergeant, was a team leader, and then went to officer candidate school later. Eventually, I led a company, a light infantry company in Afghanistan for a year, and then had another deployment as an operations officer for an infantry battalion. So what I found was that urge to create and write was happening to me during those significant emotional events during my service, but I was not strong enough really to embrace that at the time. I was a leader in charge of all these people. I wasn't going to let them see this, aspect of me that maybe didn't jive with what they thought I should be doing at the time. So I suppressed it and hid it. And it was only, through sort of baby steps for my own rebuilding and transition that I was able to start embracing it more fully. And so if people can get on that path a lot quicker than I did, I would really, really like that.
Wow, I respect that from both of you. So what can you tell us about the project itself?
Well, essentially, War Paints, of course, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. At its core, it's a website similar to Etsy or any online marketplace. But it's exclusive to veterans, and we also offer and cater to first responders as well. But primarily, our vendors are veterans, and what they do is go on the website and they upload pictures of their artwork, and whether that be painting, photography, drawings, poetry, writing. Really, we're unrestricted on what our veteran vendors can present. And they price it, and then War Paint's duty is to shine the spotlight on those artists and say, hey, look at some of this artwork, purchase it, and then 100% of the proceeds goes to the veteran themselves. So with that initiative, we've also done auctions. We've also taken artworks and auctioned them off to raise money for not only the veterans, but for the nonprofit. And we've been having a blast doing it. It's been a long road to get where we are now. So.
One other thing to add, a lot of people think you only have to have been a combat service veteran to participate, and you don't. It is open to any veteran or emergency responder who'd like to put their art out there. And it's our job, like you were saying, to help get them sales.
It's obviously stigmatized as well, where some veterans say, well, I do this particular thing, I do woodworking and to create furniture, but I don't consider it art, and we're not too keen on labeling it as such. We also present it as creative disciplines, and that's why we don't have to set that precedence that it must be considered fine art. It's really not. It's about you making things, feeling good in that process, and being able to share it with the world. In doing so, you're sharing a little portion of yourselves and growing your skill set as an artist.
Fantastic. Am I understanding correctly that this is an opportunity for these veterans to become entrepreneurs or to have an extension of their business through war paints?
Absolutely, and that's another thing. As you know, in their blossoming practice of art, they can now learn, well, how do I start reproducing art and start marketing my art and commodifying it, as Scott says. And that's exactly what they're learning to do. It's kind of an entry to the business world. And from that, other light bulbs turn on. Well, if I can do this, I can do other things. And we've seen that. We've seen success in that.
And it's also open too, just to that veteran or emergency responder who just wants to create a piece or two occasionally because they want to. And if somebody wants to buy it, they'd be happy to sell it. So they don't have to be full-blown embracing it as a business, but that opportunity is there if they want it.
Absolutely.
That's a huge opportunity. That must be very fulfilling.
Oh, we think so. We've gotten some feedback, and the veterans and vendors that we have now have been so good by staying on board with us with the website and going through all the legwork of devising this very massive infrastructure.
Fantastic. So tell me about maybe one of your favorite moments or a great memory that you have from helping one of these veterans through war paints.
Well, I had the unique opportunity of meeting a fellow veteran in Washington, D.C., and we had the honor of meeting the Second Lady and the Vice President, specifically for art therapy, an art therapy initiative.
Really?
Yes, that Karen Pence was holding. And so I was able to sit at the table with 20, 25 other people that are into art therapy and on behalf of war paints. And it was absolutely extraordinary. And it was quite a privilege to arrive, so to speak, with our nonprofit and to have presidential acknowledgement that indeed there is something to art, there is something to these processes, there's something to the organizations that present this that is, again, restorative to our veterans so that they can not only recreate themselves, but re-enter society and become active members again.
Oh, that's exciting. Anything you want to add to that, Scott?
Sure, I think the most memorable experience just happened just a couple months ago. War Paints partnered with another veteran service organization in Richmond, and we hosted a one-day art experience event. And that was designed for veterans who maybe had an interest in art but didn't really know, so they could just come and dabble for a day in all of these different disciplines and play around and meet with other like-minded veterans, and just to see them blossom and enjoy being in that moment of creation, even if it was just for a few short hours where they changed their pieces. It's just magnificent to see the soul opening up when we engage in artistic endeavors.
Thank you. So we are having these folks at Live to Lead, like I started off with. And as they're there, if you are one of the 200 individuals, the leaders in the room, please come and see Rusty and Scott. I am learning things here, and I guarantee you that you're going to learn. It takes leadership to have the initiative, to put together a business, to help entrepreneurs. What are some things that you can tell us about that, about what you've learned or what you already know that you've been able to pour into other people through war paints?
Well, certainly. I've learned a tremendous amount from Scott. He's been there to mentor me and to frankly show me through this process, which was really foreign to me. I'm used to kicking in doors and
That's right.
hitting explosives and rappelling and doing all this stuff, and so this is very new to me. And so to have his mentorship was extremely valuable, and I'm very honored to have Scott on board to do this. And as it pertains to leadership, I think there's certain attributes that I certainly value and that I think I've shared with other veterans that we've hosted before. And I think first and foremost, courage. Having the courage to walk that path and to have that leadership is a huge amount. Obviously, you're going into unknown territory when you have a leadership role. So that takes a good measure of not knowing what's going on and having the confidence to do so. I think patience is another good one. In a leadership process, we have people that kind of follow us along, and oftentimes, you have the peanut gallery. Well, he should have gone left instead of right, and this or that. And it takes a measure of patience to just hear them out, but not necessarily be impacted by what they're saying. And continue on with your course, which is extremely difficult, and move forward with that. And I think lastly, having a good measure of humility in leadership, and that obviously translates to those people that have the courage to follow you, and showing them the respect. And at times when they want to get out in front of you and hold that torch, that's when you can bow your head and say, absolutely, now's your time to practice your courage and to come out, and I'll walk the path with you, making you stronger, hence making our team stronger.
Fantastic. So reproducing those leaders too.
Absolutely.
So the community is going to want to help support War Paints. And I know that we'll have a lot of individuals coming to you guys. They're going to want to know, how can they best support you? What can you tell us? What's your best advice in different ways that the community could support War Paints?
Well, I think first and foremost, you can visit the website. It's www.warpaints.org, and browse the website, see what it's all about. We have, just go through and there's all the artwork and all the products listed, all of our different vendors, and just kind of browse it. There's a donate button there, which obviously helps the nonprofit tremendously.
Fantastic.
But yeah, continue to, if you have relatives, family members, anybody that is a veteran or first responder, tell them about it. I can almost guarantee that if you know a veteran out there, they're doing something creatively on the side. They may not say it, but they're probably doing something like this. And it's empowering when you can see that other veterans are doing this, and that you can also show your artwork as well. So I would suggest that for people as well. Familiarize yourself with the nonprofit, and reach out to myself or Scott. And we love talking about this. We love fueling this mission.
And I think another way they can support us as well, on top of all those great ideas, is our team is not set in stone. Going back to your earlier question, we've learned that we don't need to know all the answers to everything. We're always, we outsource a lot. Like, hey, we're not the expert here. Who can help us? So if there's somebody else out there who's this mission resonates with, and they think they can help us, we want to talk to you. Absolutely. Just let us know, however you think that might be. We appreciate the support, for sure.
So that is www.warpaints.org. Rusty and Scott, so reach out to these folks and learn some more. Back to anyone that is joining us for Live to Lead, October the 18th. If you have questions there, reach out. We're just about sold out, and you're going to want to connect with these guys while you're there.
Thanks so much.